It's Friday, 14th April 2023. This is Midday Live. My name is Noble Crosby-Annan. Coming up this afternoon, damning 2022 U.S. State Department report on Ghana says officials frequently engaged in corrupt practices with impunity. Also in the bulletin, Finance Minister hints of another round of domestic debt restructuring. We'll tell you why. We'll bring you some international news as well as North Korea successfully tests its first solid-fuel intercontinental ballistic missile. You're welcome to the program. We have details of these stories and a lot more coming to you in the next 60 minutes if you stay with us. Let's start off with some news on the economy. And this may be what some are looking for. Others are calling this just an announcement to feed the ears of those who want to know. Others also see this as some levels of finality. But the finance minister, Kenneth Ofori-Atta, is expecting creditors to deliver financing assurances to the International Monetary Fund in the next few weeks, which is the last prior action needed to secure board approval for Ghana's loan request from the International Monetary Fund. The finance minister was speaking to journalists on the sidelines of the spring meetings in Washington.
With external creditors, our discussions with the fund and our development partners have been marked by a clear understanding of the need to restore macroeconomic and financial stability to Ghana and to promote our economic recovery as quickly as possible. We have highlighted the importance of revenue mobilization, expenditure control, and the implementation of decisive reforms to kickstart our growth. Encouragingly, there's broad alignment with the international community that our policy orientation is not only proactive but also well anchored, and we are convinced that they should support our overall ambitions in this regard. We are advancing our discussions with our international bondholders and other external commercial creditors. Earlier today, as you know, we hosted a successful webcast informing our commercial creditors of our economic and financial situation, while also highlighting the broad contours of Ghana's debt restructuring strategy. Our domestic debt holders have made significant sacrifices towards helping to reduce Ghana's debt servicing needs, and we are encouraging our commercial and foreign holders to also step up and contribute to the effort in the spirit of burden sharing. On the roadmap to an IMF board approval and beyond, in relation to the fund program, on the government side, we have made significant progress and have completed all prior actions agreed to with the fund. Additionally, the Paris Club has met and continues to meet to discuss the delivery of financing assurances.
Well, Professor John Gachi is the Dean of the University of Cape Coast Business School. He's joining us for some perspectives on the new assurances that the Finance Minister has given to the nation in the IMF negotiations so far. Prof, thank you for your time with us on Midday Live. You followed the process from the beginning, the application Ghana made to the fund till now. You've seen the engagements that have gone on. Now, we're hearing the Finance Minister mentioning May as another date for the country to get the bailout from the International Monetary Fund. From where you sit and studying the issues, what do you make of this?
Well, we can only hope that that comes true because the Finance Minister and the government has indicated deadlines severally that didn't come true. Now they have been able to congregate the international creditors. Some meetings have been held. No full assurance have been given. If the assurance are given finally, that will pave the way for a speedy decision on the application by Ghana. And if that happens, then we are in to clinch a deal maybe by the end of May. But if that doesn't happen, then we still have a problem. I am minded to think that the IMF as a body, especially the managing director, who is now serving as a spokesperson on the economy of Ghana and to front for Ghana, may want to see some speedy progress and, if possible, waive some of the preconditions regarding international creditors to grant Ghana a program.
So now it will be fair to say that we have a foot in the doorway, if you like. And if that happens, even if we still go ahead and we get the $3 billion loan from the International Monetary Fund, we still have a huge funding gap. Now, the 2023 budget made mention of some $5 billion. How are we going to finance the difference?
Well, I'm not sure the purpose of the IMF deal is to finance the budget. I think it's to strengthen and shore up the balance of payment. What we are looking for the IMF deal is to signal to development institutions like the World Bank, African Development Banks, and others to come on board with their development package to support the country, to attract other bilateral engagement to support the country. And that is what we normally call policy credibility. What Ghana is looking for is really policy credibility, which is much more than that $3 billion. And that $3 billion is not even coming as a bullet. It's coming in tranches. Even if you assume that it will come in 3 tranches, that we're talking about $1 billion in the first year, to another $1 billion the second year, and then the final billion, based on meeting benchmarks that are set to drive the program. If we are not able to meet the benchmarks, I'm not sure we'll receive the other tranches of the money. So I think the main reason for this program is to get policy credibility and an attraction to Ghana from development institutions.
So, Prof, the finance minister says May, and that would not be the latest extension from the finance minister. Indeed, he has extended the deadline so far until May. We've also heard from other members of cabinet that somewhere in June, July, the deal will be approved and Ghana will get the money. We're going into 2024, which is an election year. What will government need to do to ensure some financial, responsibility such that they don't overspend as we see going into election years?
Well, I think while the managing director of IMF is talking in support of Ghana, claiming that Ghana was very good economy until COVID and the Russia-Ukraine war, the chief economist in IMF, in the engagement earlier yesterday or 2 days ago, made the point very clear that Ghana ought to embrace prudent financial management.
Right.
They must restore to the path of financial responsibility. So those were the things that actually led us to where we are now, and not really what the IMF managing director is talking about. So let's listen to the chief economist of the World Bank. So that is what the managers of the economy have to engage in. They need to restore fiscal responsibility. They need to ensure that they manage the fiscal situation such that it does not eat into the efficacy of monetary policy. And that is the situation we find ourselves. So we need to divorce ourselves from that arrangement.
Prof, pleasure talking to you. Professor John Gachi is the Dean of the University of Cape Coast Business School, joining us with some perspectives on the Finance Minister's announcement that the country is going to get the $3 billion loan from the International Monetary Fund in May. Indeed, this has not been the only extension that the Finance Minister has made. There have been other extensions even in 2022. Let us know what you think, whether this will finally happen in May or will be further extended to June, July, August, September. Let us know what you make of that on any of our social media platforms at TV3 Ghana. Now let's move away from conversations concerning the economy and to some health-related stories. So following the invasion of a new kind of mosquito, more dangerous than the Anopheles, the new breed known as Anopheles staphyense, the public is being advised to adhere to already existing protocols and mechanisms in order to protect themselves from mosquito bites. Speaking with TV3, a senior research fellow at the West African Center for Cell Biology of Infectious Pathogens, Yao Aniwe, says there's no cause for alarm.
The mosquito is not deadly. It's that the parasite it's able to transmit. I think there's no cause for panic, number one. So to viewers, one, this is information. And every intervention that has already been ruled out or been educated by the public health units of Ghana Health Service, use your malaria treated net, sleep under the treated net. Those who are able to ward off the mosquitoes by using insecticide sprays and all those things, just do that. And when you have fallen sick of malaria and you go to the hospital, finish your dosage. These are things that we educate every member of the public to know. All the malaria interventions are still active and are effective against anything of this nature. It's not a mosquito itself causing disease, but it is its competence in transmitting certain parasites.
Well, there's no cause for alarm, according to the expert, concerning the new mosquito breed in the country. But this is of major concern. Now, Ghana's human rights status has once again been called into question in the latest 2022 U.S. Department of State report. Among other things, instances of corruption, arbitrary arrest and killings, as well as abuse against journalists are eroding gains made in the democratic dispensation. Komala Adom highlights some of the key concerns contained in the report.
Ghana's economic challenges have long been well documented, same as other sectors like health, environment, corruption, and many others.
If we, as citizens, begin to see that these institutions are at loggerheads or attacking each other, it is worrying.
But the 2022 U.S. Department of State report has once again brought to the fore some of these issues of great concern. Corruption and lack of transparency remain a huge challenge for Ghana as state agencies fail to apply penalties to individuals and political actors who were involved in corrupt practices. A number of reports have shown this. The U.S. State Department cites, for example, a report including the Ghana Integrity Public Services Survey in July, which found corrupt practices resulted in more than 5 billion cedis in losses. Again, the controversial Abianca matter, in which improper issuance of customs advance rulings and markdowns of benchmark values by the Ghana Revenue Authority Customs Division led to loss in revenue to the state, as well as other investigations relating to public procurement processes and others in government offices and agencies. Some of these incidents are being investigated by the Special Prosecutor's Office. There is also the 2021 Auditor General's report, which found in excess of 1.08 billion cedis was lost in terms of revenue leakages in government agencies.
We have a common goal that we need to fight to make sure that every cedi is accounted for.
The report also indicates a decline in civil liberties and a seeming clampdown on free speech, also in the matter relating to the arrest of civil advocates Oliver Barker Vomao.
I have used the word coup in my write-up for so long. Now, in this particular state, the state decided to arrest me. That's fine. But the most important thing for me is that I want my day in court.
The Fix the Country convener was slapped with misdemeanor charges for making false statement via his Facebook page, charges which would later be upgraded to treason felony, and was held in prison for 35 days without bail. The U.S. Department of State is also particularly concerned about the deprivation of life and the politically motivated state killings. Now, we here at TV3 have variously covered stories about individuals dying in police custody and suspects allegedly dying in shootout with the police and others. We remember Albert Donko of Nkranza, who was allegedly killed while in police custody, which sparked spontaneous protest among young people in the area. The MP for the area petitioned a number of agencies, including the Commission on Human Rights and Administrative Justice, SHRAJ, for some action on this subject.
The media should be with us for us to have the truth in this whole matter.
In Elemmele, 33-year-old Andrew Donko died in a police clash with the youth over illegal mining-related activities at Teleko Bukazo. The U.S. Department of State found that no conclusion whatsoever has been found to these incidents and many others in the last 1 year. Of significant importance to the U.S. Department of State is the issue of censorship or content restriction by some media organizations. They recalled the matter involving the Kumasi Traditional Council's order for Oyepa FM to shut down after some comments on illegal mining were made on a radio program there. The report also found that national security officials harassed and sometimes arrested journalists in their line of duty. Political activists also variously attacked some media personnel in the line of duty. The report does not forget that the 8 people who were killed during the elections in 2020 have remained without justice. Their families continue to grieve. And for this, the police service has since failed to give any status updates on investigations, if any, on this particular development.
So I know you would want to have a copy or read for yourself the details in the U.S. State Department 2022 report. Log into our website, 3news.com, for all the updates on that report and get into detail the damning revelations that the U.S. State Department 2022 report is making. But let's speak with Adam Senan, who is co-chair of the Citizens Movement Against Corruption, for some perspectives on this. Adam, pleasure talking to you on Mayday Live. Let's start off with this. You've seen the report, a mention of some state agencies. Let's get your initial reactions.
Well, thank you. I think that it's always good to know that others are also watching and keeping tabs on what is going on internally. When it comes to the U.S., sometimes I'm conflicted because I think that they also have their issues with gun control and all kinds of things going on. But to the extent that they are quoting factually from reports internally and giving a picture of what we already know is going on, I think it's an important contribution to keeping things in the limelight and on the front burner, such that we as a society can consistently work at resolving these matters that, as it were, undermine our progress as citizens.
It brings me to my next question. So the U.S. State Department, it made reference to the Afrobarometer reports, the Office of the Special Prosecutor, and the Auditor General reports. Now, these agencies usually receive some backlash when they release such reports here in the country. How do we protect them and encourage them to do more of these revelations?
I think it's one of the reasons why the issue of constitutional review is so important and must be kept at the forefront of our discussions. The Auditor General, for example, is an important aspect of the checks and balances to ensure that the government of the day manage the resources of this country in a way that is transparent and accountable. And at the moment, there appears to be that lack of traction regarding disallowances and surcharges, which is such a crucial part of the mandate given to the Auditor General. The Office of the Special Prosecutor has continued as it were, to lament the lack of adequate resources. And we do know, given the current track record of Mr. Kwesi Adjei-Beng, that with much more resources, he probably will be doing much more to contribute to this fight. So they are very relevant institutions, and what we can do in terms of the Constitution to ensure that they are enshrined, they are protected, officers who serve there don't get hounded down or hounded out of office will all be important.
Now, we're also seeing in the U.S. State Department report that government did not implement laws against corruption effectively, and officials frequently engaged in corrupt practices with impunity. That is according to the State Department's report. But in the country, what more can we expect government to do away from the CSOs and other corruption watch agencies?
Well, I think it's one of the things that as we look towards 2024, and as the political campaign season coming.
Unfortunately, we lost Edem Senanu there. We'll try and reach out to him and bring you more perspectives from more of his perspectives in relation to the U.S. State Department 2022 report on human rights abuses and corruption in the country. Log on to our website, 3news.com, for details of that report. Now, away from that, former President John Dramani Mahama has described the governing New Patriotic Party as not able to rule the country well. We have the men as station boys. Now, taking the NPP government on over failed promises, John Mahama refuted claims that he left a power generation deficit under his administration. He was speaking to the delegates in Ponkatamansu on the first day of his Greater Accra regional tour.
Was far, 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 far better than it is today. In 2016, our colleagues, the MPP, told a lot of lies about us. They labeled us as incompetent. And they came with a lot of big and sweet promises to the people of Ghana, and used that to persuade people that there will be a better government than we were. And so the people of Ghana tried them by voting for them. They said they should try them. Somishe, try me and see. And that was the mistake the people of Ghana made, because we have come to realize that after all, we have the men. It was station boys. They don't know anything. If you take our ministers who were running this country in 2016 and compare with their ministers who are running Ghana today, pound for pound, our ministers were far better than any of them. We solved many difficult challenges. Dumsor was not created by us. It was the lack of generation capacity over the years. And so when we came into office, we were confronted with it. We did not run away. We did not shift the blame to somebody. I could have said President Rawlings and Kufuor and President Mills did not add new generation. That's why. But what we did was we took responsibility. I went to Parliament, I said, yes, okay, you elected us to take responsibility. We take responsibility and we shall fix it. And truly, by the time we left in 2016, we have fixed the Dumsor. We have fixed the generational problem. Indeed, they accused us of putting in too much generation. They said we had put too much generation, more than we needed. We had fixed the financial problem because we had introduced the energy sector levy. And that money, extra money that was coming, was going to pay legacy debt and also finance the new independent power producers. Now they've come and destroyed everything. People who said that we had put too much power generation and that we had signed too many power purchase agreements. Just last week, they signed another power purchase agreement. If we had signed too many power purchase agreements, why are you signing another one today?
So that was former President John Dramani Mahama taking the NPP government to the cleaners and describing their we have the men mantra station boys. Let's still stay in politics because some electorates in the Kumawu constituency say they have no motivation to vote in the upcoming by-election. William Van Zinkum is monitoring events at Kumawu and is joining us for some development. But let's listen to some concerns raised by the youth first before we reach out to William Van Zinkum.
They say Yania Bre, Yahuse Kwe, or Mudiana. Why I say Yania Frefra? Said the Mahama Kase or short memory, no, short memory, Nibino. And I'm the best some machines, I'm the coyeno. It is saying a short memory, as a son of the Fufratum, Honke Kanye de Tuabano. Say NDC for near Tua, a Honke Can was through, MPP for near Tua, a Honke Can was through, by the city a buffum. Ye how Yinani say, Penny for no, Ombano or more promise, no more failure.
So, very angry residents, if you like, speaking very passionately there. You had the first one saying that it should not be because of the by-election coming. That's how come officials or we've seen equipment brought onto our roads to construct the roads. And the other gentleman also talking about the levels of interest that have gone down because the constituency has been neglected by both parties, whether the NPP or the NDC. But William Van Zinkum is in Kumawu constituency as we speak. He's joining us for some updates. Evans, grateful for your time with us on the program. Apparently, these are concerns. Sum up the atmosphere there for us.
Well, absolutely. I mean, frustration galore among the youthful population in the Kumawu constituency. All that they are saying that they don't have any motivation going into the by-election. And Crosby, if you look at the voting pattern from 2012, 2016, and 2020, it tells you, or it gives a fair reflection of how aggrieved they are currently. If you look at the 2020 election, the total registered voters were 35,133. And don't forget that was the COVID election. So there were a number of people or voters who were not necessarily, based in Kumawu constituency. For instance, this particular numbers had students who were not even coming from Kumawu, but because of the fact that they were in school at that time, they were registered and they were given the opportunity to vote in this particular constituency. So that swelled the numbers. Now, check this one out. Out of the 35,133 registered voters, 29,648 voted. In nominal figures, there is a possibility of positive infiltration. Positive infiltration in the sense that they were registered, and for that matter, they hold the legitimacy to vote in the Kumawu constituency. But they are not, people who are coming from Kumawu, but because of the circumstances. In 2016 election, around 32,000 people were registered, and these were genuine constituents who had their legitimacy to vote in the Kumawu constituency. Out of that figure, 28,022 voted. Then in 2012, 27,761. So in nominal figures, you could see some level of decline as far as total number of registered voters and how they also turn out to cast their vote in the constituency. But let's talk about the NPP who have held this particular seat since 1996. So Baswa, the late Baswa, in 2012 recorded 18,585 against the NDC 4,142. In 2016, there was a sharp, upward adjustment of votes from 18,000 to 21,794. The NDC also appreciated their vote, and that is the parliamentary election, from 4,000 to 5,899. Then in 2020, now check this one out, from 21,794 down to 14,960. So if you compare 2012, 2016, 2020, the 2020 votes were the lowest as far as Kumawu constituency and then the NPP is concerned. For the NDC, it was a bizarre result. From 5,000, they dropped to 2,448. So, Crosby, you and I shouldn't be surprised that the youth are telling the politicians why they are not turning out in their numbers to vote, and those who will also vote why they are also voting in a certain direction.
But let me ask you this, Evans. Do we know when filing of nominations will begin, and what has been the process so far? What do we know concerning the Electoral Commission's processes, particularly in the Kumawu constituency?
Well, so it is not clear as to when Electoral Commission is going to hold the election, but per the Constitution, the two of us, I mean, you and I, we know that in the next 3 months, that particular, a day should be announced by the Electoral Commission. So for the NPP, few people that I've spoken to, they are looking at June for the by-election. So this is the party's, constituency office. I'm talking about the NPP. Not too long ago, one of the aspirants filed, and I'm talking about Ernest Yao Enim. He has successfully filed his nomination, waiting for Sunday's voting. The next person to file, per what I'm gathering on the ground, is Nana Amasewa, the only woman among the 7 men. She will also be filing anytime soon, and that will up the number to 2. Then we'll be left with 6 aspirants. Well, I'm yet to hear any word from their camp, but I understand that they'll also be filing, because this is the only time, slated for them to, or designated for them to file, so that the party will prepare for Sunday's voting. Inside the office, we also have the a regional officer in the person of the research and election officer, who is receiving the nomination forms and also going through just to know that indeed they've gone through the process. So that is what is happening here at the moment.
Pleasure talking to you, William Evans Inkum, from the Kumawu constituency there. Over 1,000 underprivileged Muslims in the northern region have received food support from 2 Islamic organizations. The gesture is to enable the beneficiaries complete the 30 days of fasting.
It's one of the pillars of Islam, which mandates Muslims to fast for 30 days. It has often been characterized by donation of food items to the poor and underprivileged who cannot afford to buy food to fast. It is at the back of this that 2 charity organizations, that is Qatar Charity Foundation and Direct Aid, have distributed food items to over 1,000 underprivileged and poor households in the northern region.
You need to have something to fill your stomach, to fill your veins with water, and so on. So those beneficiaries are targeted because they need this food to be distributed to them. So alhamdulillah, in this village, we discovered that these people are fair. They like justice. They have selected the vulnerable ones. Most of them are ladies, widows, and even divorced ones.
Some of the beneficiaries could not hide their excitement after receiving the food items. Meanwhile, Qatar Charity Foundation has also commissioned some health facilities, boreholes, and units of classroom blocks for some communities in the Tamale North constituency.
And also education. They have supported us to put up a number of CHIPS compounds, clinics, if you like, one at Watke, one at Fo, and then the other one at Balahe. Then there's also a 3-unit classroom block at Zanzamia and Kambli. From this community where we have done this food distribution, we'll be moving to Kambli, Zanzamia, where they put up a 3-unit classroom block some time back.
You're watching Midday Live on TV3. My name is Noble Crosby-Ann. We're going for a quick break. We're back with more stories. Stay with us.
Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to demonstrate to you the superior properties of Flamingo paint. As compared to other paint brands on the market, we take equal quantities of Flamingo paint and this ordinary paint. We then dilute them with water. And now, let the test begin. The gentleman on the left is going to apply the ordinary paint, and the gentleman on my right will use the Flamingo superior paint. As you can clearly see, Flamingo has the obvious better hiding. Furthermore, Flamingo has painted a much larger area. You know, 1 bucket of Flamingo paint is equal to several buckets of any other paint brand on the market. Flamingo paint is made with superior formulation to give superior durability, superior hiding, superior coverage. Flamingo paint, simply superior.
People fall and they rise. Make you no worry about the things you know we change. The things you know we do today. You go do them tomorrow.
Wow, this girl's got talent. You too can change your world. And it's affordable with Airtel Tigo data bundles.
Bring your dreams to life with the best data bundles only on Airtel Tigo. Dial *111# now.
Airtel Tigo. Life is simple.
Everybody knows Acrobato. And if you know Acrobato, it means you know M-Punch Homeopathic Clinic. M-Punch Homeopathic Clinic is my pillar. Let's hear what others are saying about M-Punch Homeopathic Clinic. Who will be careful M-Punch one?
Chesena me ankasa me period no say problems wom tina ma wo ho idea ma me papa chesena nya asem ketewa na mkwan point no mo hwe me mogya mu no mo he bibia na so mo meduro me fire no ene ma won kra me enu kofro kwa na mkwan mu a eba head everything yourself
me ma me no adwodwo eda ho a wontumi nante ene ne ko end point o mama nuru a ene ne ho idea watimi asori anante.
That's end point for you. Of Acrobato. Hello. Hey, ohwehwe what che. Okay. A free bra wo di end point wa dance. Am me call you no. Me Johnson sema na enkoyie en paso na my emre nyina na magina sebema na me be fie for there the one dey nyina jaresa. You heard everything. I have secret. M-Punch is my secret. M-Punch Homeopathic Clinic. I'm free.
We are on a mission promoting access to quality health and education through the power of our media space. Since 2014, we have made great impact. TV3 mission now drives Ghana's quest to break barriers and provide access to inclusive and quality girls' education, together with women's maternal health services. Our mission to address the needs of the socially excluded has won the admiration of many. Indeed, TV3 Mission gets you the results. Mission is live on TV3 News 360 every Saturday and Sunday. Supported by Star Ghana Foundation, with thanks to Foreign Commonwealth and Development Office.
Who wins season 14 of Talented Kids? Is it MFC Dance Camp, Abigail, Rahman, Eloquence, Darkness Models, or Emily? It's the final showdown with the 6 finalists of Talented Kids live from the Accra International Conference Center this Sunday, April 16 at 3 p.m. The playground opens at 12 noon for all game lovers. Our finalists have worked tirelessly to perfect their craft and they are ready to take the stage and give it their all. From mesmerizing dance routines to spellbinding singing performances, incredible modeling moves to word dexterity, there is something for everyone.
But you
How
many minutes are laughing under the capacious belly of the earth?
It's going to be a night of celebration of young talents and an opportunity to witness the stars of tomorrow shine bright today. Performing artists are Dope Nation, Photocopy, and many more. Tickets are selling at a cool 30 Ghana cedis at the front desk of TV3. To vote for your favorite contestants, dial *713*13# or download the TV3 Reality app to vote. Talented Kids, free to play.
Powered by Indomie. Sponsored by Pepsodent Cavity Fighter, Cowbell, Heaven Black Mosquito Coil and Insecticide Spray, Enapa Mackerel, Kiki Juice Drink, Flora Tissues, Top Choco, Coco Plus,
Deluxe Acrylic Paint.
You're welcome back to the broadcast. Business News is up next. Manu Afol is here. Manu, what's coming up?
So the finance minister, as we know, hints of another possible round of domestic debt exchange. We'll tell you why and bring you many more stories from the world of business. Thanks again for joining. My name is Menu Afol and welcome to the business segment. In our first story, there are indications that governments may embark on another round of domestic debt restructuring. Now, this was hinted by Finance Minister Ken Ofori-Atta during a presentation to stakeholders on macroeconomic developments and the upcoming public debt restructuring as part of ongoing spring meetings of the World Bank and the IMF in Washington, D.C. But why will governments be compelled to engage in another round of domestic debt exchange? Well, we'll tell you why in the following.
The domestic exchange has been a really grueling and tough exercise. Let nobody leave thinking that we have been soft in there. It has created enormous political backlash. Government was, however, committed to it. As you can see, it's almost
Following a rather protracted domestic debt restructuring, it will appear almost impossible for government to suggest another round of domestic debt exchange program. But through business interactions with some economists and finance experts suggest this may not be surprising after all. Government, as part of its long-term goal of reducing Ghana's debt to GDP ratio to 55% of GDP in 2028, as presented to the International Monetary Fund, targeted to restructure about 137 billion cedis of domestic debt. Out of this number, the government only managed to restructure 98 billion cedis. Even with that, not all persons exchange their old bonds for newer ones. In total, this only represents less than half of the country's total debt. Ghana's total public debt was 467.4 billion cedis, of which 42% was domestic debt. Three businesses now learning that there are attempts to restructure about 123 billion cedis of domestic debt, and amongst the instruments to be affected are pension fund holdings, cocoa bills, US dollar local bonds, local currency loans, and government debts to the Bank of Ghana, all totaling 123 billion cedis. The minister, according to reports, has maintained treasury bills will not be affected. This will come as a shock to many who continue to wonder why government has failed to take a share of the burden by cutting down on expenditure, which includes the size of government and other policy measures that will significantly reduce costs. However, it takes, this will not affect our chances of securing a deal with the International Monetary Fund.
We'll stay a while on this issue as private lenders are awaiting documentation on Ghana's debts from the Finance Ministry to consider the portion of their debts that could be restructured. Finance Minister Ken Ofori-Atta said the lenders acknowledged Ghana's challenges and have expressed willingness to help tackle the situation.
Acknowledgement that we have done considerably well with regard to the domestic debt exchange program, and they are now waiting on receiving all sorts of documentation to enable them give us the proposal. So I think we've started on the right foot, very collaborative, and we expect in the same way in which we engage the Paris Club, that will have an engagement that would result in the country being on a stronger footing, and they also burden sharing like all others.
We'll talk about inflation now because only 3 out of the top 15 items with the highest rate of inflation were above 100%. The rate of inflation for the month of March reduced by some 7 percentage points to 45%, according to the Ghana Statistical Service. My colleague Nanekia Mensa Abrampa gives us a breakdown of the figures.
Dropped sharply from 52.8% in February to 45% in March. But if you still spend regularly on some of the household items we have listed as the top 15 drivers of inflation, then your rate of inflation for for these items you purchase will remain much higher than the 45%, which is the current national average. Let's go through the top 5, and our locally produced shelled granules still remains the highest. From the month of January, the item has an inflation rate of 114%. This is followed by red palm oil with a rate of 109.3% and imported washing soap at 101.6%. Items for preparation of stews and other delicacies, namely sunflower cooking oil and coconut oil, also fell within a bracket of 99.7% and 98.5% respectively. And when you move to the next table, we have sanitary pads and women underwear also falling in the bracket, while local food items, groundnut oil and fish having an inflation rate of between 81 and 85%. This means the price of your fish for Kinky remains high above the national average, as it has recorded a rate of 81.4%. And for your instant noodles, goat meat for jollof and soups, your bathing soap, baby food and ice cream all recorded inflation rates between 75% and 78%. Respectively. It means that depending on how often you use these items, your expenses will remain high as your rate of inflation is higher than the national average.
And that's how we wrap up the business segment here on Midday Live. My name is Minu Afo. Do stay with us for sports shortly.
Pepsodent is aware that globally, 1 in 2 children suffer from cavities. That's why by giving her Pepsodent, you're not only protecting her teeth, but also helping her grow up and thrive at every stage of her life with a healthy and confident smile, so she can succeed and achieve all of her dreams. Because every smile matters.
Abrantie mi hu fum so bia won ho. I see ku.
Sa abrantie we o ka kire nkrofo ni se me mu bia nto home of line e wo so bia keke. Na o sa kwa so ya ajenkwa o hene sasai kan ni important ni na o di nchesha dada manfo asem o madu poto. Miwi na me si yanka ha kwa ko ke ho se na wa sel iti kuno agbe wo di ni wo so yo wa himie wo himfa
asasi anyone did do nyina ya mini meja dia na mo ha se memo ni pa hunu ni eye na ye papa
na ye papa
ani so ni pa beto ni home appliances nyina wo kafam eso se woni wonye mim so fa so pe istay kafam of sorte oteto woni e ma no so akodu 65%.
TV kese pa no boy se
enso o ma sorte o
ya TV kese wa hifia
oni how
yeah, Abrantie me bisamu a obi antimi ka kire me de ntie se me kuno. Ensam o kan susu to asom. Afi wei ye de Yesu hu be che no. If so kan sempa. Afi foforo no ye be dwe. Maka famfo enso to.
Anyhow. Hello? Kafam. Uma sorti Ponta Pilato mame.
Ah. Digital Zacchaeus, Michelle Kofaka from TV Kasian Brem.
Catch Mahonya.
Kafam, assorted Easter promo. And you're up to 65% off.
When the sun rises, there is hope. While this hope lingers on, the citizens look up to the government, the economy, the national development agenda, and everything in between.
On Ghana Tonight, it's our utmost priority to bring you insightful conversations on the economy, break down the biggest issues while setting the agenda for transformation and national development. The big and important stories are treated from the human interest angle, while the facts and the figures are painted with precision. So now, let's cut the convention and start the conversation here on Ghana Tonight. I am your host, Alfred Okamsi.
Ghana Tonight shows Monday to Friday at 10 p.m. on TV3.
Welcome back to the Bulletin. It's now time for the latest in the world of sport. And unfortunately, after Isaac Dogbe and Richard Comey lost their bouts, unfortunately, there's some attention to the boxing arena in the country. Well, Kevin Oswansa is here to give us the details. What is happening to boxing in Ghana? Some good news?
Well, I think that's true. A lot of new developments have happened, and it looks like more attention is being given, especially to the grassroots. So we just hope that we bear the latest talents who will be coming to give us some world titles.
Nice.
Well, let's move on to our first story. And boxing, where John Lye and Solomon Mate are both set to contest for the vacant WBO